Well, in other news tonight, according to the latest report, U.S. inflation slowed in August, but numbers are still painfully high.
Increases in food prices have economists especially worried. News 8's Danielle Zalkowski explains how this is going to affect Hoosiers. Danielle.
Well, the latest inflation report says food prices were 0.8% higher in August, meaning Hoosiers are still paying more every time they stock their shelves. And local economists say these prices might just be the new reality across the country.
I think overall consumers should expect this is going to be a 5 to 10% overall increase in the cost of living going forward.
Hicks says some prices will stabilize or even come down over time, but this new cost of living is the reality.
Things like really fresh meat, gasoline, and some basic foodstuffs like rice, corn, potatoes might come back down. But for most manufactured products, I would expect we're stuck with higher prices. So about half of the overall inflation is going to be with us.
Total inflation over the last year was at 9.1%. Jason Lusk, a Purdue economist, says there were three main factors when it came to food inflation. There was an increase in money from unemployment and stimulus payments. There was also an increase in consumer spending on food at and away from home, on top of increased exports of American-grown food, and supply issues, including higher feed costs for livestock and rising labor costs.
These higher costs of an area that all families need to spend in is very damaging.
Average inflation numbers have stabilized, but that's in large part due to a sharp decline in gasoline inflation. Food is less affected.
The benefit from the lower cost gasoline hasn't fully worked through in energy prices, and we're continuing to see the restraints on supply.
Hicks says inflation will continue to decline if the Federal Reserve continues to raise interest rates.
So if we raise interest rates, and the pace we're raising now is 75 basis points or 0.75% every 6 weeks or so, at that rate, we're beginning to see it biting into demand.
Hicks says many Hoosiers are at a disadvantage through this. Income in Indiana is about 85% of the national average, meaning a lot of households have less money to deal with these higher prices. Hicks also noted the recent rebate checks will likely cause additional inflation in the state. In the newsroom, Danielle Zalkowski, Wish TV, wishtv.com, and follow us on Facebook.